Hi friends, my name is Mackenzie, also known as Emtothethird, and this is the Emtothethird Knitting Podcast. However, it's a special episode. So I am here in my new space. It has been a rough month since we chatted last of moving. We have this weekend, we're finishing everything up. We had like a 3-week overlap between our two leases, which I would have avoided if I could, but that's just the way things worked out. So this is the last weekend that we have to get like the last load out. So it's almost done, but it's been quite the process. So I've been working the last couple of days on getting my office space just kind of functional so that I can record videos and do all the other things that I need to do. Definitely it's feeling like it's coming together, but there's still a long way to go. Just out of shot, it's like chaos, but for now you get this nice little vignette of my space that I lovingly put together and I'm really excited about. So thanks for being here. The only bit of knitting that I have been working on is my Grouse Creek pullover. So, I mean, I've made quite a bit of progress. I finished the hem, and I'm almost done with the first sleeve. In fact, I think I will probably finish the first sleeve tonight, and then just have the second sleeve, so that's great. Yeah, it's been a nice just to be able to sit down and do stockinette on something during like the chaos of this move and during all the episodes of Love Island that Kay and I have been watching. So yeah, it's coming together. I'm pretty excited about that one almost being done. And so you're like, if you don't have knitting to talk about, what are we chatting about today? And it is August, which in many parts of the States is like the hottest month of the year. And here in Oregon, it's also pretty hot and sticky. My glasses are fogged up like a little bit as I'm even recording this. But it also is like, it feels like the transition month between summer and fall. So I have started thinking about what I'm going to be working on for the fall, what I'm excited about, and I wanted to talk about my plans with you. I think something that we don't talk about a lot in our little community is how planning is a pretty important part of making. Yes, sometimes we see something and we want it and we cast it on and we make it, or sometimes we don't even finish it. And I think that's like a very valid way of doing things. Like it's a quick dopamine hit, like it feels good, and sometimes that's what's going on and that's what we need. And I really like planning out projects, and that's really how I've been approaching thinking about fall making, which I'm really excited about. One of the patterns that I've been thinking about is something that has been in my queue for over a year and that I have the yarn for and that I've been dying to cast on, and I think that's what I'm going to cast on when I'm done with this sweater. It's slightly trendy, but also out of the box enough that I know it'll make my wardrobe just that much more fun. The second thing is something that I saw recently and got excited about and picked out yarn for, but have been thinking about in all of these different outfit combinations that I'm really excited about. The last one is an idea of a type of garment that I've been thinking about for a long time, have several different options for, and I'm not completely sold on which yarn or pattern I'm going to use yet. I made mood boards for the first two to kind of show you what I'm thinking about, because it does also play into some sewing plans that I have. Now that I have a bigger space, I think I'm going to be doing some more sewing, and I'm excited about that. But I've also been thinking about how they'll play into what I already have in my closet. Realistically, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish 3 garments for the fall, during the fall even, maybe even for next fall. And sometimes like the idea just kind of passes the moment and I decide I don't want to make it, or the yarn isn't right and it's just not time for me to make the pattern. So we'll see how it goes, but I wanted to kind of show you how I decide on what I want to make. Usually when I'm getting ready for an incoming season, it's not like I completely change my wardrobe for each season, but I do definitely find myself veering in different color directions and texture directions and silhouettes for different seasons. So what I like to do is make a Pinterest board and start saving ideas. I even go back into old Pinterest boards that I have and see if anything applies for the new season. And what I found for fall 2023 is that I'm really into clashing patterns. Florals mixed with plaids, mixed with ginghams, mixed with different woven textures. Like clashing patterns and textures is really like what is doing it for me. And I definitely have a pretty consistent color palette. In fact, this dress is a pretty great idea of what my palette is like. I like pinks, I like mauves, I like yellows, mustards. I've also been very drawn to like bright orange reds recently for like pops of color. So that's very much in line with what my style inspiration is looking like for the fall. Now, the first thing that I've been wanting to make for my wardrobe is a sweater vest. If you watch other knitting podcasts, you'll know that these are being made a lot right now, and they are so cute to style. You can wear them over like a smock dress, you can wear them with big like high-waisted palazzo pants, and I think they just look really darling. So I've been really wanting to make a sweater vest, like probably for about 18 months now. And when I first got this like little bee in my bonnet, if you will, I started looking at different patterns on Ravelry. I really like the idea of having a button-up sweater vest so that I can pull it on over other outfits just to keep my core warm, like for practical purposes, but also it gives me a little more options in terms of layering it. And so I was looking specifically for button-down vests. And one that really stuck out to me was the Fest Vest by Amba O'Brien. So she made a series of patterns a couple of years ago that you can make with an advent calendar that you would get for like a Christmas countdown with mini skeins of yarn. I thought that was very sweet, but the general gradient vibe wasn't it for me. But she had an alternate version where she used a solid color for every other stripe, and then she used Dream State by Spin Cycle for the alternating color. So that kind of just has its own gradation in between the solid stripes. And I was so drawn to the way it looked. At the time at the shop that I work at, we didn't have a huge selection of Dream State. We were just like waiting for an order, but I was so eager that I sort of picked 4 skeins. And I was pretty happy with them, but I think realistically they were more in like the red to blue colorways. I had gotten a mixture of ish tints and colors to kind of gradate the 4 skeins. And I was just like, this isn't quite like doing it for me. And so when we got the next shipment in, I went through, and my favorite colorway that they dye is Wololo. It's got all of those colors that I love in it, like orange, brown, mauve. Sometimes it has really bright teals, sometimes it has like chartreuse in it. And so I swapped out the 4 that I had bought a few months prior for 4 skeins of Wololo. And I also happen to have this amazing chartreuse DK weight that I got in a trade when I was selling stash yarn before I moved from Boston to Portland. And so I was like, these are going to go so well together. I've had that yarn there, but then other things just kept coming up. You know, as someone with a small business for knitting who also works at a yarn store where I am asked to make samples on occasion, sometimes my knitting priorities are not what I would want them to be, and this was just a case of that. So I put them aside, and they've just been staring at me longingly ever since. So I am really eager to cast that on. It will be such a lovely garment to wear and style in the fall, and I made a little mood board for how I'm envisioning it. So I have a lot of like smock dresses that I think would look very sweet with the finished object, and you know, you can always do with another smock dress. I also really love the Sagebrush top by Closet Case Patterns. I've made one in a black and white gingham that I wear pretty regularly. I would like to make another one or two. I think I would like one in a solid that's white or black that I can wear under things so that I can just have the sleeves come out. And I would also like one in some kind of striped or plaid fabric. Some just interesting like texture and color to bring in. And I think that wearing a vest over that would be just so sweet and very cute. So I've been thinking about that a lot. Another garment that I've been dreaming of for a while is a pair of palazzo pants in emerald green velvet. I have a pair that I made out of a pattern from Helen's Closet that I really love. They're out of like a heavy tencel. I always get compliments when I wear them, and I think they're very flattering, and so I really want to make a pair of emerald green velvet. I recently went to Joann's because I had a coupon to look to see if I could find fabric, and they did have a green velvet, but it's sort of skewed blue, and also the I don't know what you would call that, the like fuzz, you know, because velvet obviously has that wonderful texture, and that's why we love it so much. I want to say ply, but I don't think it's the ply. Anyway, it was white, and so it kind of obscured the green, and it sort of just looked like they were fuzzy white pants. Not exactly what I was going for. So I'm on the hunt. I'm keeping an eye out. I think it will come to me when it needs to come to me. But I also think a pair of like high-waisted, beautifully tailored palazzo pants in emerald green velvet would look amazing with this sweater vest. I can kind of even see it as like a Christmas outfit. Yeah, I think it would be very sweet. So that is basically number one on my queue to cast on. Not that I don't have other whips, but this is how it goes, you know? The heart wants what the heart wants. So that's number one, a sweater vest. So the second thing that I've been really thinking about making is a cardigan or a pullover sweater with a collar. There are a few on Ravelry right now that I'm very drawn to, and I've also found some from the website Toast that has kind of like higher end, slow fashion articles of clothing. I think that it would just be so sweet to have that collar, but I've looked at patterns. I haven't really seen any written patterns that like capture the essence of what I want, until I stumbled across a pattern from a Danish designer on Pinterest, and I was just like immediately like, oh my god, I loved the way the collar was like sat on the sweater, and it's also striped, which I really love. Of course you can make any sweater striped, but I just hadn't thought about doing it, and seeing it made me like, oh. And it's with a thicker yarn, so they're asking for like a worsted weight, which also was very appealing to me after this sport weight sweater that I'm working on. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So I did pick out some yarn for it, and I have it on hold at the store I work at, and I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So that yarn is being held, but I also think that it would, like the colors that I've chosen would look so good with those emerald green palazzo pants that I've been dreaming about, as well as with just like some of the skirts that I have. I think I want to make a estuary skirt, which is a pretty simple skirt pattern by So Liberated. It has really cute pockets in the front and buttons down the front, which you can, I'm sure, easily leave off. But I'm imagining that in, like, again, kind of that stripy, beautifully textured kind of fabric, and then that top. I've also been really into this wonderful lady on Pinterest and Instagram named Lois. And I've been just looking at her different outfits. She was a little bit of the inspiration behind my pattern clashing, texture clashing like desires. And I will link her Pinterest down below because it's just very sweet to look through, and I think very inspiring to see the way she puts outfits together. And she's a sewist and a knitter as well, so highly recommend just checking her out. She kind of embodies part of the like granny punk aesthetic that I aspire to. So yeah, we've got number 1, a sweater vest, number 2, a collared sweater, and number 3 is a textured, cabled pullover. This has been something on my bucket list because I'm not really a textured knitting gal. I really like color work. I like stranded color work, and that's largely what I gravitate toward. But I love seeing textured knits on other people. I think part of it is that I am a bigger person, so not only is it not cost effective to make a bigger size sweater with texture because it just uses more yarn, it also means a heavier finished object and just more bulk on my silhouette. Frankly, that's not something that I always shy away from, but I do think there's a little bit of hesitancy within myself when I think about those things. They just come up, right? Because we all have our body shit that we're dealing with. But my coworker made a beautiful sweater called Perennial by Nora Gone from the worsted book that Amy of La Bien-Aimée put out via Lane magazine. It has this amazing curved hem in the front, and so it looks really cool with high-waisted pants. It looks really cool with high-waisted skirts and just like smock dresses, which is a lot of my wardrobe, all of those things. And I have some DK, like I have a sweater quantity of DK weight that I think would look really beautiful knit up into that pattern. On the other hand, there is another pattern that I really love. I think it's called the Audrey cardigan or sweater, and I believe it's from Barocco. I will put it up. I have some yarn that I've been saving from Rhinebeck. It's a Cormo, it's really light and airy, and I think it would lend itself super well to a cabled pattern. However, the gauge has been really hard for me to figure out. I've swatched several sweaters in it, and I just like can't quite get gauge with it. I think that I'm probably thinking it's like a sport and it's closer to a DK just because of the toothiness on it. I really do want to create a textured sweater for myself. I think the things holding me back from this longer term goal, because this has been something that I've been wanting to do for several years, is the fact that I just know that it's going to take longer and use more yarn, and I just hope that I have enough yarn and patience to get through it. So yeah, those are the 3 things that have been sort of in my queue and taken up space in my mind, because really come October I sort of switch gears and start doing Christmas knitting. So I'm thinking that if I start the sweater vest and get that done, which hopefully will not take too long because like it doesn't have sleeves, and then I start one of the other 2. I think probably the collared one, because it's thicker yarn and won't take as long. Then I can maybe get 2 garments done before the end of fall, which I would just be ecstatic about. Fall is definitely on my mind. I got this cutie pumpkin pillow at Home Goods that I love, and Kay was like, really? And then I also got my first Squishmallow, which is a little bat. I love them. So there's that. And I also got some sugar-free coffee syrups that are like pumpkin flavored at Home Goods because they're Halloweening. And I'm ready. I think it's just that summer has been kind of rough. It started with losing my cat unexpectedly, and then we moved, and it's just been a little chaotic. We've had a lot of visitors, which has been lovely, but also, you know, throws off your routine a bit. So I think for me, it feels like fall is gonna be when we get settled in and when we can kind of start, I don't know, like moving on from this period of transition. So yeah, that's what's going on. That's what I've been thinking about. I know this is a slightly shorter video, but I hope it inspired you and gets you thinking about fall knitting. I would love to hear if you've been thinking about fall knitting, what you're planning to make, what you're already making. Hopefully I'll have a little studio tour for you soon, as well as some other videos. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!